Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Virtual College Exploration, a program of the Illinois Association for College Admission Counseling. Thank you very much for joining us today. To all of our participants, how do you ask a question? Use the Q&A button to type your questions to the presenters at any time. There is no chat function today. Your camera and your microphone are off. You're muted, your video is off. The panelists cannot see or hear you, but you can communicate with them in that Q&A button. After this session, please consider signing up for more sessions. There are almost 400 total sessions at the website, www.iacac.org. A recording of this session and all the sessions will be available following each session. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleagues from Canada.
All right.
Did we lose you, Sanara? Are you there?
We may have. Sanara?
The best laid plans. Well, in the meantime, can we go around the horn and introduce yourselves and your universities, and hopefully we'll get our slides back up.
I can start. My name is Saisha Ford. I'm a recruitment officer with Ryerson University. It's really great to be here.
And I'm an admission coordinator with Queen's University, and also it's great to be here with you today.
Sure, I'm the Assistant Manager of International Recruitment for the University of Guelph in Ontario.
And my name is Dylan, and I'm the Student Recruitment Officer for Concordia University in Montreal, Quebec.
We seem to have lost our fearless leader from York, so I have the presentation, so I can try share it from my screen and see if that works.
Appreciate that, Amy.
No worries. Let's see if it works first before we get too excited. Yeah.
My sincere apologies. I think we had a technological glitch here. Okay, are we able to share this?
Oh, Sarah, okay, I'll get
Okay,
it.
so we're back. Apologies for that, everyone. Okay, so I think we were in the middle of our...
Yeah, Sanara, just to give you some background there, we all introduced ourselves. So if you want to take a
Awesome.
minute and introduce yourself and then share your screen, that'd be great.
Fantastic. So everyone, it's Nara from York University. I'm just going to be sharing my screen now, and then let's do this. All right, Dylan, so over to you.
All right, so yes, my name is Dylan. I just introduced myself, but I'm going to speak to you a little bit about what it's like to live in Canada. So if you want to go to the next slide. So I'm sure many of you are very familiar with where we are located. We are your neighbors to the north, so especially coming from Illinois, we are not too far away from you. So I'm just going to break down Canada a little bit just to give you some more information so you can kind of get an idea where everything is. So if you look at the very west coast where British Columbia is, it's a lot like your Pacific Northwest. It's right above Washington State, very beautiful, mountainous. You have the ocean. And then as you go through Alberta, you kind of hit the Rocky Mountains and the prairies. And then you end up in central Canada, which is where all of us are located. So we're all located either in Ontario or Quebec. You can see kind of at the bottom of the screen, we're all located between the corridor of Toronto and Montreal. As you go more east, you have our Maritimes and Atlantic Canada, which is kind of just above Maine. So those are sort of our 10 provinces, but we do have 3 territories to the north. Canada is quite a large place, as you know. So we are pretty vast, but that kind of is what makes Canada very exciting. So next slide. All right, so one thing that's very beautiful about the country is that we have so much nature. So for a country of only 37 million people, having this much space really allows you to just kind of leave the town that you're in and enjoy the space. So I'm pretty sure that everybody here has a very similar thing where it's very easy to just sort of walk off campus or take a short transit ride and you are in nature. So this is something that we really love as Canadians. It's a great place to explore if you've ever kind of wanted to see Canada. Coming to study here and being able to take that time to travel as well is a very good way to see the country. And then one thing that's also on the next slide, one thing that's also very perfect about Canada as well is that we have a lot of really livable, dynamic cities and communities. So every single area of Canada is very different. I did kind of just show you a very brief map of the country, a little bit of an explanation, but there's so many different cultures that are here that really form the different areas in our country. For example, Toronto is one of the most, if not the most multicultural city in the entire world. So we do have a lot that's happening. So for international students coming from all over, we have a lot of cities here that are very easy to live in, that have a lot of very good cultural influences for you to be able to just kind of explore. No matter where you end up in Canada, you are going to have a very unique experience, especially with your studies as well. All right, so I'm going to pass it on to Amy from Guelph.
Thanks so much. So I'm Amy. I'm here to talk about affordability. So if you can go to the next slide, Sarah, thanks. Yeah. So you don't usually think that traveling abroad or being an international student is extremely affordable. But in the case of many US students, it is true in regards to studying within Canada. So looking at even at our international tuition costs, even for international students, being lower than many of your out-of-state tuition prices down in the States, we're quite a competitive option in terms of that for many US students. Now, especially when you take into account the currency exchange. So make sure if you're on any of the Canadian websites, university websites looking at tuition fees, reminder, they're all in Canadian dollars. So make sure you do some currency exchange over to the American dollar. Now, taking into account things like housing and food and overall expenses are also a bit cheaper up here as well. Keeping in mind also that you pay into a universal healthcare here. So you pay a one-off fee that will get you healthcare for your time here as well, which is a lot cheaper than some of the places down in the States. Another thing that makes it more affordable is a lot of the universities on the call today have a lot of co-op and work study options. So this is something you can look into where you do it as a part of your degree in terms of co-op where you can work and study in between your semesters, or as a work study option where you can have part-time jobs throughout the time here or when you study. This will be spoken about a bit later, so you can learn a bit more about your work permit and how that works, but it does make it a little more affordable to earn some money while you're studying. So if you go to the next slide, we're going to talk about scholarships and some help with finance. Now, I would say most institutions, if not all institutions, offer some sort of international scholarship or international bursary for students. These are typically based on merit up here in Canada. So there's a huge range in terms of how much an institution will award. It will vary across the universities and even to the individual programs as well. So there are scholarships for certain programs and certain universities. The number of the scholarships will require an application, but a number of them don't, such as University of Guelph does not have an application for some of their scholarships. It's automatic. Others, there are applications, so make sure you look at the specific university and what their requirements are for those international scholarships. It's important to notice the big difference in things like sports scholarships. This is treated very differently than American colleges. So typically it's up to the coaches to award a certain number of smaller scholarships to athletes, and there's no like full ride as a lot of the American institutions have. But lastly, if you are using your FAFSA loans, I think every institution here, all 5 of us accept FAFSA loans as a part to help you pay. So if you are getting any financial aid from FAFSA, you're allowed to use that not only at our institutions, but a lot of institutions around the world do accept FAFSA money. So it does help with kind of financing your education. So on that happy note, I will hand it over to the lovely Nathan.
Well, hi there, and thank you. Yes, yeah, so if we can go on to the next slide, I'm going to be talking about the general admissions process. And also just a side note for everyone, I think we might have missed it at the beginning of our presentation due to some technical difficulties, but we will be taking and answering your questions at the end. So please continue to use the Q&A to put in questions, and we will be answering them at the end of our presentation. But yeah, about admissions, some general things to keep in mind. are that when you're preparing to apply to a Canadian institution, you want to keep in mind that each institution has the liberty to set their own unique admission requirements. So it's important to check the admission website of each and every institution that you're thinking of applying to in Canada. You'll also want to look and see what their specific admission requirements are, such as when to apply, how to submit an application. Do you apply directly through their website, as in some institutions, or maybe with others? Maybe they're on the Common App, or maybe they are utilizing another central application website. Another thing to keep in mind is that the admission evaluation at Canadian institutions tends to be very academic focused, or focused on your grades and your transcript. So you want to do your research and make note of any specific course or grade prerequisites that an institution might have in place for the program or programs that you're interested in applying to. And also make sure that you're aware of any testing requirements or additional documentation that might be required. A little research, in the end, it can make a world of difference. So I just want to leave you with that note, and I'll pass it on to my colleague. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. The next section is going to be talking about the international student experience. And you might not know, but 20% of Canada's or Canadian university students are international students. So 1 out of 5 students in Canada are international. And the US makes up approximately 10% of all international students in Canada. So we are, sister countries, we're very close. And so 10% of our international population are from the US as well. Our universities will have, and all of our universities that are here, as well as universities that are not here, we will have dedicated student support for our international students, so acts that you can access as an international student. Those services may include things like immigration support, new arrival support, because we understand that while our countries are geographically close, it's a big difference sometimes between where you're coming from and where you end up in Canada, which school you end up at. And so you may require some of that new arrival support. The offices will also help you with financial assistance, so helping you figure out possibly how to use your FAFSA loan, or for any bursaries or scholarships that might be available to you as an international student. They also will help with things like health and wellness, want to make sure that you're strong and ready to tackle the courses that you will be taking at one of our institutions. A lot of our student supports, or our international student supports, will also be hosting orientation activities, usually alongside the traditional orientation. So for the unique needs of our international students, ensuring that you are acclimated to the city or town that you will be studying in, getting to know some of the cool, cheap eat spots around campus, helping you to build that social network. So helping you to meet other international students, as well as meeting other domestic students, and really just building your tribe while you are at our designated universities. That is a really big part, I'm sure, as you know, of feeling at home in another country, is building that tribe and building that social network. And a lot of our student supports help with that as well. Amy spoke a little bit about being able to work on campus, and just to expand on that a little bit, your study permit as an international student will allow you to study on or off campus for up to 20 hours a week. So whether you choose to do a work study placement, or whether you want to work at the local retailer that you like, that is an option for you, and the study permit will allow you to do that. Moving on to the next slide, we talk a little bit about life after graduation. And I know that one of the questions that we already have populated is about life after graduation and what that looks like for your work opportunities. So a really great element of the Canadian study permit is that you are eligible for a postgraduate work permit. What that means is that the connections that you're building throughout your 4-year, 5-year, 3-year program, whichever it is that you're doing, the networks that you are building, you have the ability to leverage those networks and stay in Canada for up to 3 years after graduation, as long as your degree program was more than 2 years in length. So a lot of effort will be put into experiential learning. A lot of effort will be put into networking for you when you're at these universities. And so it would be a shame for you to lose that all the minute you graduate. So you do have the ability to stay for up to 3 years. But also we have a lot of students that, want to return home, for example. And so some of that great work experience that you're going to get through those, either that work study, co-op, internship, whatever it does look like, you do have the ability to return home as well. At this point, we are going to continue on, just give you a little quick profile of each of our universities. Fantastic. So the first university, I believe, is Concordia. So back over to Dylan to tell you a little bit more about Concordia.
Yes, so as I mentioned at the beginning, Concordia is located in Montreal, Quebec. So Montreal is a very unique city. I came through here when I was very young and fell in love with it. I actually went to Concordia, but Montreal is the #1 student city in North America, and it's 6th overall in the world. So there's a lot of aspects of Montreal that make it very interesting, but there are a lot of students that do come into the city, so it is a very student-focused town. Concordia is kind of a mid-sized to larger school. We have 46,000 students, 36,000 of which are undergraduate. But even though we do have a large student population, 75% of our classes are 60 students or less, and we have 1 professor for every 27 students. So you will have these very nice small class sizes. So we have 4 faculties and we have 2 campuses. So our 4 faculties that kind of spread out over the 2 are John Molson School of Business. We have our Faculty of Fine Arts, our Arts and Science, which is humanities, as well as like biology, chemistry, human sciences. And then we have our engineering as well. Each faculty will offer opportunities for experiential learning. So if you really like to learn hands-on, Concordia is a really good school for that. Our fine arts, we actually have the largest student-run fine arts festival in North America. For our John Molson School of Business, we have a ton of case competitions. So if you're interested in practicing and trying to solve real-world problems, the case competitions are perfect for you. For engineering, we have Space Concordia, where we build rockets and satellites, as well as the SAE, where we can actually build like race cars and race them against other universities. So it is a really good place to come if you want hands-on learning, and we have a ton of student services to help you succeed throughout your time. We have a very solid international students office as well, which really tries to keep students engaged when they're coming from a different country. So it's a really good place to meet international students. All right, so that's everything I have to say about Concordia. I'm going to pass it on to the University of Guelph.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dylan. That was awesome. So I'm Amy again. I'm from the University of Guelph. Guelph is not the best name on the planet. It rhymes with self, as that's what we tell students. Guelph rhymes with self. But it is a gorgeous part of the world. So the city of actual Guelph is located about an hour outside of Toronto, Ontario. So Toronto is a major hub, or about an hour away. So you can go in and out of Toronto. You don't have to live in the big city, but you have access to it to go to all the games and the shows and whatnot. We have a beautiful walking campus. I know this is just one photo, but if you can go onto our website, you'll see how gorgeous our campus is. It's filled with trees and stunning scenery. It looks really nice. And Guelph was actually ranked one of the top 50 cities to live in Canada in 2019. So Guelph is sounding a little better now, huh? So we are a mid-sized university. So we have about 27,000 undergraduate students, and it's right now up to about 1,700 international students. So again, we are a great size. We have a great campus. We have over 85 different majors. We're known for our agriculture and science programs. Again, we have a great location for things like that. We have business and engineering. We have cool degrees like bioresource management, landscape architecture. We have a great computing program. And of course, we are the #1 veterinary school in Canada. So that's a nice tagline we like to throw in there, is that we're actually the #1 school in all of Canada for veterinary. We've welcomed students from the US for many years, and we pride ourselves on our friendliness. It's actually in our review book, so we consider ourselves very friendly. If we're not modest, we're definitely friendly. We have really great co-op programs, so this is something you can add on to a lot of your degrees, meaning you get hands-on experience in real life, real work, so you not only graduate with a degree, but you also graduate with a full resume. Again, I know there's been questions about how do I get jobs in the US after. All of this will have your full resume at the end of it to help you get jobs and kind of have real world experience while you're studying. We always get high rankings in regards to student satisfaction. It's one of those surveys that you do across Canada, and we always seem to rank really high on that. And with over, I think it's 200 student clubs, we have 7 dining halls, 19 varsity sports, 25,000 square foot fitness center. You can start to see why we're recognized as a Canadian leader in student experience. In regards to admissions, for the next year, we are going to go test optional for 2021. So if you did really well in your SATs or ACTs, you're welcome to add it. But for this year only, we are going test optional and looking at your GPA and your transcript. Please make sure you check out how to apply on our website. There's a bunch of different options, and we are on the Common App. So if you are going to go on the Common App, just tick University of Guelph and it'll all get sent to us. But lastly, I can't not talk about Guelph and not talk about how we are considered the food campus. So we've actually been ranked for 5 years running, having the best food at a university campus. Sorry guys, we won that one. And we are the top food campus. So we have a huge amount of different arrays of food on our campus, high quality dining, different options. I think there's 7 dining halls, and it's just a great foodie's dream. So if you are into food, head on over, and I'd be excited to talk to you more about the University of Guelph. I think I'm handing it off again to Nathan to talk about Queens.
All right, thank you very much. So yes, my name is again Nathan, and representing Queen's University. Well, as one of Canada's oldest degree granting institutions with well over 176 plus years of tradition, academic excellence, cutting edge research, we also are on a beautiful waterfront campus in the historic city of Kingston, Ontario, with all of its, historic, castle-y looking limestone buildings, facilities. But more than all of that, Queens, it's about people, it's about the community. So we're researchers, we're scholars, we're artists, we're professors, we're staff, and we're students. So with an ambitious spirit, we all want to develop ideas that can make a difference in the world. We're people who imagine together what the future could be, and then collectively we work together to help realize it. Because this is a global community, and it's a global marketplace, and we're all a part of it. So from applied science to social science, from the fine arts to the humanities, Queens is continually advancing human understanding and helping to educate the next generation of leaders. We're passionate about that. Now, with a total student population of just over 23,000 students, Queens attracts amazing students from around the world. When we admit them, or when we admit you, we already know that you have what it takes to successfully complete your studies. In fact, we have one of the highest retention rates in the country, over 94% and a 91.4% employment rate 6 months after graduation. So we challenge, we support, and in the end, you succeed. See, we don't just leave you to fend for yourselves. In addition to all of the amazing, dedicated faculty who are roaming the facilities and the halls, we also have an incredible array of academic supports and student services. When I talked about us supporting you, that's what I'm talking about, giving each student the opportunity to continue to grow and develop, not only as an academic, but also as a person. And on top of that, we equip and encourage our students, as I think I've already alluded to engage in the global marketplace, whether it's through an international exchange, which we have dozens of partners all over the world, or a year-long internship where you're immersing yourself in the marketplace before you even graduate. We want to open the doors of the world to you. We'd love to connect further with you, so please feel free to visit our website, check out our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, or just send us an email at admission@queensu.ca. We want to connect further with you. All right, thanks so much, and I'm just going to pass it off to my colleague, to Ryerson.
Thanks, Nathan. So again, Saisha from Ryerson. A little bit about our school. So we are located in downtown Toronto. So literally you pretty much can't get more downtown, right in the center of the city. Toronto is one of the top 10 most livable cities in the world, #1 most youthful city in Canada. So a really great space to live and work and study and have fun. We have about 45,000 students at Ryerson. 36,700 of those are undergrad. So the vast majority of the students on our campus are undergraduate students. Even though we are considered a relatively large university, our average class size is 21:1. So we're still able to maintain some of those smaller class sizes. Our campus is truly diverse. Toronto is one of the most multicultural cities in the world, and our campus is a true reflection of that. So students are from over 140 countries. There are over 80 languages spoken on campus. So again, just a really great space to study. I am an alumni of Ryerson. I studied business management program with a human resources major. So I very much am speaking about what I experienced. Ryerson has about 60 different undergraduate programs spread across 6 different faculties. So whether you're interested in aerospace engineering, biomedical science, performance acting, interior design, entrepreneurship, accounting and finance, urban and regional planning, there are a lot of different programs for you and a lot of niche programming that we offer. I know a lot of my colleagues have talked a little bit about, and we've talked about your ability to get some hands-on learning. Ryerson is no different. We offer internships, co-ops, placements, things of that nature. And actually, similar to what Nathan was talking about, 87% of our grads find jobs in their field within 6 months of graduation. So you're probably going to hear this as a theme among a lot of Canadian institutions. Something that's pretty unique to Ryerson is our zone learning. So zones are pretty much spaces on campus where students can start their own business. So if you've ever had an idea for a business, if you wake up in 30 year and have an idea for a business, it comes to you in the night, you can pitch the idea to our zones. They have different themes. So one's a biomedical zone, one's a fashion zone, just to give you an idea. We will pair you up with a mentor and help you find funding. And the idea is that we're helping you launch your business within your 4 or 5 years that you will be spending with us. Students have created over 400 businesses and generated over $700 million in funding. So it's a pretty successful model, and it's one that we love to offer to our students. It's not something that you need to apply to. It's really just a value add piece for any of our undergraduate students. If we're talking a little bit about admissions, just really quickly, Ryerson has 2 types of programs. So if you're looking at ryerson.ca, our website, you will see that they're categorized under 2 different headings, grades only and grades plus. Grades only programs are exactly what they sound like. We are just looking at your grades, so your transcripts. And if we're looking at grades plus, those are going to be programs like dance and acting, where we might need an audition in addition to your grades. So just to give you some context as to what those 2 things mean. And Ryerson is test optional. We're test optional now. We'll be test optional next year. We are just a test optional school. I know that was one of the questions in the chat, so just wanting to make sure I answer that for you. I am now going to pass it on to Sanera at York.
All right, thank you. Thanks for linking the beautiful scenery for Toronto, everybody. So my name is Snara Lee from York University. We are the 3rd largest university in Canada, located in the beautiful Toronto, and we do have 2 subway stations on campus, so we are roughly about a half-hour subway ride away from downtown. Now, being the 3rd largest university in Canada, we do have a population of over 55,000 students, out of which 49,000 are undergraduate students. We do have 7,000 faculty and staff members on the campuses and 325,000 alumni worldwide. So we do have 3 campuses. We have our Kiel campus, where the majority of our 150 programs are housed. Our Glendon campus, which is also our bilingual campus. So students do have the option to get a degree there, but also get a certificate in bilingualism or trilingualism. Glendon does have a much smaller population of roughly around 2,700 students. And our newest campus is actually built in Costa Rica. It is affiliated with our environmental studies campus. So lots of great hands-on opportunities for students. That's a common theme amongst our Canadian universities, as you might have heard. And our subway station on campus, which we're very proud of, does make it that much easier for students to get to downtown or any part of the area that you're looking at to really get that hands-on work experience. So whether that's through placements, co-ops, or internships, that is certainly an option here. And that is something that we highly encourage our students. So despite being a large university, we are a self-contained campus. So everything that you see at York is a part of York. We only have 1 major road outside of the university, and everything else within campus is a part of York. With that, we do have 8 different residences for our students, 5 libraries, 140 different restaurants, grocery stores, a doctor's office. We really have everything for students to live, learn, and be successful on our campuses. With that, we do have additional amenities on our Glendon campus as well. So that's residences, libraries, and we also have a shuttle that operates between both campuses, and students can take classes on both campuses should they choose to. We do have 11 different faculties. So our Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies, which is our largest, and you can find courses such as political sciences, law, and business. Our Lassonde School of Engineering, our Schulich School of Business, Osgoode Hall Law School, our Glendon College, our Faculty of Education, Health, Environmental Studies, School of the Arts, Media, Performance, and Design as well. And we do have 35 research centers, and that is something we heavily emphasize and encourage our students to take on, which are also paid opportunities as well. Now, several of York's programs are recognized worldwide, particularly our film school, which is also compared to the USC School of Cinematic Arts in Southern California, also the Tisch School of Arts in New York. Our Osgoode Hall Law School is also ranked as one of the best law schools in the country. Aside from that, our Schulich School of Business is ranked as one of the best business schools in Canada and worldwide as well. And aside from that, our kinesiology, psychology, and health sciences program are also some of the top ranked and most popular by student choice. Having said that, we do have a population of around 12,000 first-generation university students. Now, ideal student is someone who wants a big campus feel, but also values the community feel and connections that they are going to make on our campuses. Someone who would contribute to campus life and collaborate with others and inspire those around them during their college years and beyond. Now, just to go over our admission requirements, so York University and all of our institutions are academic institutions above all. This means that academic is the first strength that we are going to be looking at. Some of our programs do require a supplementary application, so that's our BFA programs in the School of Arts, Media, Performance, and Design, in which you will have to submit an audition or a portfolio review. Our Schulich School of Business also has a supplementary evaluation, so that's a writing exercise, an interview as well, and a leadership portfolio that you will have to present. So for most of our other programs, we are going to be looking at your academics, which will come from your senior year of high school, so that's from grade 11 and 12, with at least a minimum of the average. Competitive programs will have a higher average. Prerequisites must come from your senior level courses. Aside from that, we have adopted the test optional policy for September 2021 and for winter 2022. So we do have 3 entry points for students to come in, but for next year, we are going to be test optional. If you do have an amazing score, as my colleague Amy mentioned, and you would like to submit it, you are more than welcome to. But aside from that, a majority of our students internationally do tend to be from the United States. And I look forward to connecting with all of you. With that, we are now going to move into our next section, which is going to be our Q&A. We are seeing a lot of questions that are coming in. So we're going to be taking those collectively and answering those. Before we do that, I'm just going to put up a resources slide, which is going to help you as well with some of the resources that are available to students. So these are all of the links that you can visit. So Universities Canada, Education in Canada through EduCanada website, and the Government of Canada scholarships, and also citizenship and immigration information. We've also put that link up for you. So thank you, and we are now going to take our questions. Okay, so I think we can answer this collectively too. Our first question is, if my kid is a Canadian citizen and we are living in the US, can he go to schools at Canadian rates? So I think we're all nodding. So yes, if students do have their citizenship, or if they do have their immigration status, yes, then they are eligible for domestic fees at your school. So yes, that is going to be the Canadian rate. All right, so for our next question, how easy is it to get hired in the US with a Canadian degree? And what are the numbers of graduate students finding jobs in the US? I don't know if we want to take all of this collectively, or if one of us, Amy, has her mic off. Amy, would you like to take this one?
Sure, yeah, no, I think a Canadian degree is extremely transferable. It's a degree that's recognized all over the world, especially in the US. It would be no different in some ways than getting a degree in the US. If you're looking to go back and use it anywhere else, it's an internationally recognized degree. In terms of getting jobs, again, I think what Canadians do well, especially in the institutions here today, is to allow students to have those co-op and workplace experiences and internships while they're here and studying. It's a really great Canadian initiative that a lot of universities have taken on and incorporated into countless programs. So if you are concerned about getting work in your study field, I would definitely recommend looking at things like co-ops and work placements, which allow you to almost get hands-on experience. But even if you don't want to add that on, a lot of the actual programs that we do, I speak for Guelph, and I'm sure all the other universities here, there's a lot of practicum hours, there's a lot of hands-on activities and work that happen now within the curriculum. So it's not just you sitting behind a desk for 4 years. even in arts programs and things that are really book-based, there's a lot of hands-on experience that goes. So I would say one of the huge benefits of Canadian universities is that there is a great recognition for the ability to take your degree and go straight into the workforce for it, especially going back to the US. I see no barriers for that. I think that would be very doable, yeah. And the next question, if you have dual citizenship, yes, again, same question. You can definitely apply and get the Canadian rates. Just make sure you highlight that you are Canadian.
Okay, awesome.
There's another question. So there was another question that was similar to that I wanted to bring up. Was if I'm a Canadian citizen studying in Illinois, is there any difference in application? So I'm not sure how everyone else is in terms of applications, but for Concordia, you just have to say that you're a Canadian citizen. You still upload your transcripts and your documents from your US high school, or if you're transferring from a university, any transcripts that you have. But otherwise, there isn't really much of a difference. It's really just clicking up off a box and then providing us with your documents, your Canadian citizenship, birth certificate. I don't know if other schools have a different way of doing that, but I think it's kind of across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody else would like to add anything to that. Okay, so if we're good with that, we will now move on to our next questions. Do any of these schools offer a food science major?
I can
take it away again.
So maybe it might be helpful if we can name it for the student, just so they know where they're looking. For Ryerson, you'd be looking at our nutrition and food program. So that's a Bachelor of Applied Science.
Yeah, for Guelph over here, we have a Bachelor of Science in Food Science. So that's specifically exactly what it is. And we also have a Bachelor of Bioresource Management in Food Industry Management. So if you're looking more for the business side of food, not so much the science, we have both. So the food science and the bioresource management program as well.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so in non-COVID years, do US students need to submit an SAT or ACT scores when they apply? Have a student that will be applying next year, class of 2022. So the class of 2022 we did address, but I'm happy to go over that if all of us just want to go through that. So I'll start with that. So for 2022, as I did mention, we will be test optional at York University. In any normal given year, yes, students will need to submit it. It's either an SAT or ACT. Nathan, if you want to answer that next.
Thank you, Snare. So for Queen's University, during COVID, we have made the decision to move to test optional. That decision will continue for us. We will be, you can still submit if you feel that it benefits or complements your application, but moving forward, we will continue to be test optional.
So for Ryerson, we are test optional all the time, so whether COVID or not.
Yeah, at Concordia, we're also test optional all the time. We're very grade based, so you do not need to submit any kind of standardized testing for Concordia.
At Guelph, we do need tests, but not for this year. We've made it test optional for the next cycle. I don't know about future cycles, but as of right now, we're test optional, but we potentially would go back to having to need an SAT or ACT if you're studying a US curriculum.
Awesome, thanks everyone. I think this is also a question we'll probably take turns on. I am also mindful of the time. So the question is, if I take general courses over here in a community college, will those credits transfer to a Canadian university? Does anybody else want to start this first?
I could start off. So for Concordia, at least, I'm not sure about everyone else, we really can't guarantee which credits will transfer. Basically, you have to send us an application with your transcripts. And then if you are accepted, you will be notified through your acceptance letter which credits have transferred over. So it really depends on the school, but there might be kind of like a cap on some schools of how many transfer credits they will allow. I know Concordia, you have to at least complete half of your degree at Concordia in order to get a diploma from our school. So the short answer is yes, but the long answer is a little bit more complicated. Just provide us with your transcripts and we will let you know if you are accepted into the university.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nathan.
I was just going to say, I was going to echo Dylan. It's the same with Queen's University. So there is a limit. But yes, initially, just send us the transcript and we will let you know after you have applied and after we've had a chance to review your application, what will transfer and what won't.
Aisha, did you?
Oh, I was going to say, so generally, like, I echo everything my colleagues just said. The only thing I would pay attention to is I'm not sure if this student is applying for an engineering program. Engineering has a really specific, I guess, regulations or parameters around transfer credits. So I'm not sure what you're applying to, but just make note for engineering, it likely will not be as broad or as many transfer credits as some of the other programs. You might not be eligible for as many, just because if it's a certified engineering program, there are parameters.
Sure, Sanara, I think we got our last minute. Do you want to just put the last slide up just so everyone has our contact details? I know we've run out of time here, but just so we can all reach out if you need any more questions.
Yeah. Okay.
I also see there's another question there.
Question, yep.
Can we double major or minor between different faculties? This is, I think, very much going to differ between all of us. So if we just quickly want to go down the line, I'll quickly say it's easier to minor than double major. There are some double majors for us, but it is a lot easier to minor. Contact me for more information since we're on limited time.
Yeah, same for Guelph. We have a double major in arts and science, so you can have a Bachelor of Arts and Science, but otherwise you have to have a major and a minor. It's not as much as the US double major specifically, yeah.
For Concordia, we do have a lot of minors that are available, so echoing what everyone else said, but we also do have a lot of double majors that you can participate in as well, but it really depends on the department. So again, if you would like, contact me and I can definitely give you some more information on that because it will be very department and program specific.
And for Queens, very similar to my colleagues, a lot of minors available. There are some, we call it, instead of double major, we call it medials. It just means equal focus in two different subject areas. That's primarily within the Bachelor of Arts. Aside from that, if you're in a direct entry program like engineering or business or nursing, then another option is something that we call dual degree, which means you're in your primary degree and then applying to transfer a fair number of your courses into a Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science. So give yourself another year or two and you can graduate with 2 degrees.
Yeah, and it's very similar processes for York as well. So very similar to what my colleague said. We do allow double majors for most of our programs. Just keep in mind if it's something like engineering or business, those are going to be limited. But most of our program students are able to add a double major. You do that when you are coming into your first year. Please make sure you do need to have your prerequisites from high school at a senior level. These are 2 different faculties. So if it's a science and liberal arts, you would need to have the science prerequisites. But with that, our information is up on the screen and you are more than welcome to connect with us and you can ask us these questions individually for this particular program that you're interested in as well. All right, so I think that brings us to the end of our time.
Let's thank our panelists. All of our participants, you don't know how difficult it is for these folks to do this and not see your faces. So right now, virtually over the waves, give them a big round of applause for presenting and sharing all this great information about opportunities for you north of the border. Thank you for joining us. Please stick around, our participants, for about a quick survey about your experience today. Sign up for more sessions. Like I said earlier, there are close to 400 sessions, all available on www.iacac.org. Recordings of this session and all sessions will be available. Once again, give our panelists a big round of applause. Thank you all for sharing this opportunity with our Illinois students. Have a great day, everybody.